So hey, this is kind of one of my end of school sort of videos, but I normally would talk about this the last week of school. I'm not sure how many people are still going to be logging into my Google Classroom when they get their assignments done. So this is just, it's a story. I've told it to some classes I don't tell it to because it is personal, and so I kind of had to make sure that people were in the right frame of mind that I could share it with them. But it will make sense to you, I think, as I tell it to you, if you know me very much. And whenever I was 17, so the summer between my junior and my senior year, I got the opportunity to go with my church youth group to Haiti. And if you don't know much about Haiti, it's a very tropical country. It's kind of down in the Caribbean, and it's extremely poor. It's been poor forever. Whenever I got to go and was fortunate enough to go, there was a dictator that was in control that used voodoo and demonic sort of practices in his rule. And so if you could imagine our FBI or CIA or that kind of police force using voodoo and casting curses and just that kind of fear, that was what it was like. And we were there 6 months before that dictator got overthrown. And so there was a lot of political unrest in the country. And I'm from the Panhandle, and so it was just a little overwhelming. And so I got there, and I was blessed to get to go, and there was a lot of things I really didn't want to go at first. I wasn't wanting to be a part of the group, but just different sacrifices were made, and I thought I was going, to help people, but in the end, it impacted my life till this day. And so when we first got there, we landed on our plane at night, and we landed in the capital, and I think there was a lot of things that were overwhelming, but one of the things that was overwhelming is we're driving to where we're going and to stay, and it was just so dark. And so you looked out, and it's just pitch black, and every so often you'd see a little flickering light, but it was the middle of a city. And so it just was, their whole culture was different, but there was people everywhere, but it was dark. And so we had been there for several days. Our job was to help there's Haitian construction workers. There was a church that was building a school, and so their country did not have the ability to educate. People didn't get to go to school unless it was a private school, and most people were so poor that if it cost a penny a day, they couldn't go to school. So churches use that as a way to gain membership, as they provided an education and a school, and then people would attend that local church within their community. And so we just hauled concrete and cinder blocks and things like that. And the actual construction workers, they did stuff, they actually did the building with it. And we played with the kids, and we had a great time with the community. And so it was towards the last of the time we were there, because the walls were probably 6 to 7 feet tall that we had built. And so, and it's a very tropical setting. And so, it's just, you're always sort of on edge. At night, we could hear the voodoo drums coming over the water at night, and you just were sort of always on edge, and you weren't really sure, the language. I knew a few things. I knew how to say Jesus loves you and Bible, I think, and their language is Creole, which is a combination of French and I'm not sure, maybe Spanish, I don't know. It's Creole, and it's not exactly French, but it has a high French influence. And they told us, they can't afford just anything that we take for granted. And so we took lots of hard candy there. I think I gave away my watch while I was there. I gave away earrings. They're the most generous people. They'd share anything in the world. And so if you gave them a piece of candy, they just thought it was the greatest thing ever. And the kids, they thought that was great. So we carried around hard candy wherever we went. But this particular day, I was working on one side of the wall, and this woman was kind of across sort of like a little street, but it's a dirt path, basically. I don't know, an alley, if you wanted to think of it like that. And she just started wailing. Like, I've never heard, thought of the word wail, and unless I think of this woman. And she was an older, I don't know how old, but she was an older lady, and she just started just this mournful, soul-wrenching wail. And of course, all of us are on like high alert. We're like, oh gosh, what's going on? And so we look at the Haitian workers, kind of like, what's going on? And they just look at us, and they kind of go like, she's crazy. She's not all there. And so we just go on. Like, apparently, I guess this happens a lot, and she's just wailing. And so this goes on for a long time. To me, a long time. I'm going to say, I think, 5 minutes, maybe give or take. But this is a part of the story. I'm not trying to be super religious, but I truly felt that God told me to go. Just go to this woman. And I know that was not from me, because I am a people pleaser and a rule follower, and I would have argued that. I would have said, oh, I need to ask for permission to go over there, or, oh, they said she was crazy, and maybe that's not a wise thing to do. I just heard go, and I just took off around the side of I didn't tell my friend. My friend was one of my best friends was right next to me. I did not tell them. I just left. And I didn't tell our youth person that was with us there. I didn't tell them. I just headed off. And kind of as I'm heading off, I'm thinking, like, what are you going to say to this woman? Because you don't speak Creole. You know how to say Jesus loves you, and you got piece of candy in your pocket. But as I came around one side of the building, on the other side, and the girl that came from the other side went to a different school than I went to. She was my friend because she was in the youth group, but I think she's 2 or 3 years younger than me. We didn't room together. I liked her fine, but we weren't necessarily on the same level. There was 31 of us that went on this trip. So, it was a pretty substantial, and we were split between 2 different work sites. So maybe 10 to 15 were at this work site. Anyway, however, and if she tells the story, she felt the same prompting, but she headed around the other side of the building. And so there was sort of a gate leading across the street. When we both got to the gate at the same time, but we came around from different places. We didn't see the other person there. And so it was just almost like, okay, I don't have to do this by myself. And so we go and we walk through the gate, and we walk up to the woman, and I get my candy out, and I do the only thing that I know what to do is tell her that Jesus loves her, and I give her this candy, and she smiles. And she obviously, like, her eyes were not right, and you could tell that her eyes were not right. And so there was a lady sitting there with her, and, we held her hand, and we gave her a hug, and she talked to us in Creole, and I have no idea what she was telling us, but she stopped crying, was the thing. And the other lady smiled. And we sat there for a while, and I'm going to say maybe 5 to 10 minutes, really not saying much, just, said we're kind of there, and had her smile. And so we turn around and we go to leave. And there's probably 10 Haitian people that are in the front yard watching us. And I never really knew, like, what they were watching. Like, what happened to the last people that had gone over there? Or or what they thought we were saying, if we were saying anything spectacular, because we said the one thing we knew was Jesus loves you. And so we came back, and we came back home. And so, I'm going to say I came back home, and this was my take. It took me a while to get this. But, we were no better than the Haitian workers that were there that said, she's crazy. We're no different. We just were from the outside, and so we recognize that a little bit more, because I think in our world, we see people and we just sort of become numb to their hurting. And so it doesn't affect us, as opposed to the person that comes in from the outside and maybe feels it a little bit more, because we're not numb. It's just new to us. But here's the part that's critical. So if you've stuck with me this long, stick with me this long, a little bit longer. Because I really wish I had the courage of my 17-year-old self all the time. Because people need kindness. They may just need you to sit with them. They may just need a kind word. And sometimes you see them, and I can talk myself out of it. I can say, oh, well, that's not, what are they going to do with that money? Or, what are people going to think if I go over there? Or what if I go sit with them and then what happens? I can argue myself out of it, and I could have argued myself out of it that day, because there was plenty. If I would have asked my youth person, they would have said no. I know they would have, because we didn't know what was going on. I mean, I broke through. I just went. If I would have asked my friend, she probably would have gone with me, but the direction was not for me to ask a friend. My direction was to go, and I went. And so many times I wish I had the courage of that 17-year-old. And so I want you to know that you have power. Power does not come with age, and doubt doesn't get any better with age. And so if you have an opportunity to be kind to someone, and you have an opportunity to make them smile, do it. Life's too short. Do it. And if you wonder, and it's come into play, and I don't always share this with everybody, but if you wonder, it was years later. I'm a teacher. I went to some workshop, It's like, do positive things. And, if I had chocolate in my, to throw chocolate, then I just want to eat the chocolate all the time and not give it to any of my students. And so I give Jolly Ranchers. And if you're a neighboring teacher, I'm sorry, there's probably Jolly Rancher wrappers that you've seen, and you're probably sick and tired of Jolly Ranchers. And if you're kids, I throw Jolly Ranchers all the time. But if you want to know what I shared with the lady in Haiti, it was a Jolly Rancher, and she smiled. And so Jolly Ranchers make me smile, and I hope that they make people smile in my classroom. And I hope that from the story, maybe that you're challenged a little bit, just to find somebody that throughout your day that you can make smile too. So if Jolly Rancher wants to sponsor me, that's great. But I tell kids that all the time. I should wear a Jolly Rancher like badge or a patch or something, so that they knew that how much I supported them. But yeah, I love them.